Hey guys, welcome into this Y'all Politics interview today with Mississippi Wildlife Federation, Ashley Ellis Smith, and also Todd Smith. Thank you all for joining us today.
Thanks, Frank. Thanks for having us.
Let's just start here. Tell us about the Wildlife Federation and kind of some background and some backstory before we get into other issues.
Yeah, the Mississippi Wildlife Federation is the oldest conservation group in Mississippi. We were founded in 1946 by a group of concerned hunters and anglers who wanted to make sure that the state's natural resources were protected for the future of sportsmen going forward.
So recently y'all been in the news about a lawsuit that was filed. I understand it's in litigation, so you can't say much about it. But what can you say about that?
You know, it's not a position that we relish being in, and there isn't a whole lot I can say about it other than the fact that, I'm an attorney and our president is an attorney, and we've got one of the best plaintiffs' law firms in the state of Mississippi, and we did not file our notice of claim without adequate proof of the claims that we have pending against the potential defendants.
Sure.
I know that Commissioner Gibson lashed out against us in social media within the past couple of days, saying that he was happy about this fight and he relished taking it on. And I'd like to go on record saying that we're not happy about this fight. We don't like having to engage in this type of litigation. And, what we want, we're a watchdog group, we're an advocacy group, and we want people to do their jobs and follow the law. And it's unfortunate that it's come to this.
So let's talk about that advocacy just a little bit, if you will. I know there's been some misunderstanding or some confusion on where y'all stand on these Yazoo backwater pumps. That has changed over the past year. And I think that maybe from what y'all are seeing, maybe some of what is at the root of some of this. Can I speak to that just for a second?
Yes, I know it's so confusing to a lot of people because our position has changed quite a bit over the last, and I am also fairly new to the organization. I've been on board for about 6 months. We've
Sure.
had a lot of turnover on our board, and the direction of the organization has changed quite a bit. This new notice by the Corps of Engineers to engage in a supplemental environmental impact study based on a new project proposal for the final component of the Yazoo pump project. We think is fantastic news. And originally, when MF came out against the pumps, really 2 decades ago, none of the mitigation components that are in either the existing project proposal or this new project proposal were contained in that original project. So right now, the Corps, and when we issued our statement back this past July of 19, saying the pumps may be a part of the solution, we were considering this ongoing and extended flooding that has been impacting the Delta for the past few years. And the fact that the pumps truly may be a part of the solution now, that the Corps has both allowed for 55,000 acres of mitigation to be included in this project for reforestation, and that Congress has funded that aspect of the project. That's something that didn't exist, back in 2008 when the EPA put the veto in place. And Sure. This new project proposal has even more mitigation included with the addition of the well fields and moving the project upstream to Deer Creek, where they're not going to have to build as drastic of an infrastructure project that they were going to have to with the previous one. So, things change, and there have been new iterations of the project proposal over time. So our position is trying to change with those new project proposals, iterations, the environmental benefits that it may provide, and the catastrophic devastation that's, been going on in the Delta because of this funding that we have to consider as well. So there's been a lot of misinformation disseminated about our group over the past year or two. And we haven't fought back probably as hard as we could have, trying to be sensitive to the situation of the people and what they were facing in the Delta. And, we would like to probably set some things straight on record, but that'll probably come out it partly in the lawsuit. But yeah, we do want a solution to the problem, and hopefully this new project will provide that solution.
So, just to delve in a little bit deeper on that, um, one of the things that we hear from, we're a more conservative news outlet on our state, is that there's some criticism on y'all's behalf that you're tied to your National Wildlife Federation, who's very largely funding Democrat candidates and endorsing Joe Biden. How does that play in with Mississippi Wildlife Federation and what your outdoorsmen who are a part of your organization, how does that play in?
Right. So we're an affiliate of the National Wildlife Federation. We pay $37 a year to be an affiliate, and that's all we pay. That's the only money we send to them. But we are allowed to set our own issues that impact our organization. And National Wildlife Federation supports us on that. They have been staying out of the news on this pump situation. If you'll notice, they have not issued any public comments, anything negative about the pumps since I came on board. And they only endorsed Joe Biden as to the Democratic candidate field. So that was amongst other Democratic candidates, not in the overall presidential race. They also their PAC tries to evenly split their endorsements between Republicans and Democrats. In fact, they offered to endorse Delbert Hosemann in this past year's race, but he declined to take the endorsement just because of the perception that they were sort of left-leaning. There are obviously right-leaning states and left-leaning states. We're considered one of the right-leaning states, and I think we bring a good balance to that fact. We try to be a bipartisan organization. I am actually a lifelong registered Republican. I've worked for the Republican Party, both in DC, in Tennessee, and I'm actually the Jefferson County Republican Party chair. But I have both Republicans and Democrats on my board. So nothing about what we do is politically motivated. National Wildlife Federation is a bipartisan organization, and, you can look at what they do as sometimes, it's people will interpret things how they will. We've got Republicans saying they're not doing enough that direction and Democrats saying they're not doing enough that direction. But people will always come down on the side that they choose to believe in.
As a follow-up, you say you pay $37 a year to be a part of that. How much do you get back from the organization each year?
So it depends on the year. We actually right now we have a grant that helps fund some of our coastal conservation work from the National Wildlife Federation, but that money actually doesn't come from the Wildlife Federation. It comes from another conservation group, and it helps with steer our BP oil spill money toward restoration projects and ecology work down on the coast. And so this past year when we had some issues with the extravaganza meltdown, we didn't have an executive director at the helm. We didn't have a public relations firm on file. And so they helped step in and take over some of the community management. But it obviously
gotta have that PR.
Yeah, it obviously varies for the year. And I don't have a breakdown of the historical, data on that. But as to a specific project, if you wanted an answer, I could probably get you something.
Okay. And then as one more follow-up to that, so as far as your affiliation with the National Wildlife Federation, and I'm
sorry, can you repeat that?
Sure. As far as your affiliation with the National Wildlife Federation, I'm sticking on this just for a second because being in Mississippi, a more conservative state, and I'm sure you appreciate the dynamic on that. Some of their policy issues that they promote may run contrary to a lot of your members and may not even realize that. So how does y'all separate out from those policy positions, such as the climate change or whatever that they may be taking on that national level?
Right. I cannot emphasize enough that we are our own 501c3. We are an entirely separate entity. We have our own affiliate organizations. We have right now, I believe we have 18 affiliate organizations that are members of our federation. They don't always agree with us on everything. They have a vote on our board, just as we have a vote on National Wildlife Federation resolutions. We have just proposed an NWF resolution regarding Asian carp and that fight. So we don't always agree, and we just have to make clear on the positions that we don't agree with NWF that we don't agree with them. And it's one of those situations where we agree to disagree. We're not bound by anything that they do, and they support us in our state, but our state is our state. And, we feel like we're the watchdog for our sportsmen's rights and natural resources stewardship. And they support us on that. And at the end of the day, we have the right to disaffiliate from NWF if it comes down to that. It never has so far. I'm not saying it won't ever in the future, but we hope it doesn't come down to that, because we think the work that they do is largely fantastic. And for the most part, we agree on a lot of the issues.
So do you think some of the dissension or some of the political stir is because of this differences between your affiliation with them and the political scene?
Probably. Privately in my conversations with different groups, especially some of the Delta conservation groups, they have expressed, we so appreciate that you guys are making strides in this area, but NWF still has not come around to the extent that you guys have. And our response is, we can't control what they do. We can just try to protect our own backyard. And that's what we're doing right now. And, Colin O'Mara is the CEO of National Wildlife Federation, and he gets it, and he fully supports us, and they have backed out of the situation. And, as long as this project is going forward and they're doing it and they're following all of the protocols with regard to environmental impact study and permitting, then, I don't see, them trying to get involved. And I hope they're going to continue to let Mississippi take care of Mississippi business. And we're going to try to ensure that that happens.
So at the end of the day, as a resolution, what do y'all want to see?
With regard to
the lawsuit and with the ongoing difficult relationship that has been kind of forged over the past year or so with state agencies?
We want to see a restoration of integrity at the top of some of these organizations. We want to see the Wildlife Agency, who 99.9% of those employees have integrity. They're doing a fantastic job at stewarding the professional resources of the state, and we believe in them. And we want that Conservation and Wildlife Agency to function for all Mississippians and all conservation NGOs in the state like it should. We don't want there to be an abuse of power. We don't want people to think that they are above the law. And we don't want any business, nonprofit or for-profit, to be in peril of having their livelihood or something they've worked so hard for so many years for someone to be able to just come in and take it from them, because either they want it for monetary gain or someone doesn't believe in a political stance they've taken on an issue, because that's not fair, that's not right, and that's not the American way.
Right. Todd, anything to add? I haven't tried to overlook you, but I want to make sure that you got your 2 cents in as well.
Yeah, no, I'm just here to make sure that that the message is out. And the one thing I would like for Ashley to talk about a little bit is how important the extravaganza is to the Wildlife Federation. And really, that's the foundation for all of this, is helping them restore what is their largest event of the year. And so I think that's the crux of the whole matter. So, hey, Ashley, I'll just let you talk about the importance of the extravaganza and why it's needed.
Well, it has been one of our largest fundraising initiatives, for 33 years, at the same date, at the same place. And the date is important because all of these vendors operate on a circuit. And so when you take the date away, it's very difficult for them to move because they're locked into other shows. And, we have worked very, very hard to build up that name and that reputation and the following that we have. When you start a new show, you usually don't make any money for several years. And so that is important to us, and it's been important to the people of Mississippi. We target that toward youth, toward kids, and to outdoor enthusiasts, hunters and anglers. And so it's been difficult for us to try to regroup in this situation. But there are a lot of components that have gone into our notice of claim. That's just one of them. The loss of being able to use state-run facilities paid for with state and federal funds, of course, is a big component as well. But yeah, we're trying to look out for all Mississippians, but especially the future interests of hunters and anglers in the state.
One last question, because it's political season. I have to ask this: are y'all looking at endorsing any current candidates this cycle?
We are not.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Any final thoughts?
No, I just really appreciate you giving attention to the story, and we hope we can find a resolution to all of these issues and find a resolution quickly.
Ashley, Todd, thank y'all for joining us today here on Y'all Politics. Have a great
Yeah.
day.
And Frank, I appreciate your interest, and I share Ashley's background. I'm a former reporter for the Washington Times, which is a conservative-leaning newspaper up in D.C., and I was also on George H.W. Bush's speechwriting team. So we all have a lot of Republican background in common.
Gotcha.
So it's good to work with you.
Yeah, thank y'all for joining us today. I really do appreciate it and helping you get your message out. Have a good day.
All right.
Thanks.
Take care, Frank.
Thank you.